I really feel like you should be doing the countdown in Swedish. Can you do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in Swedish for me, please?
Yes, I will do one for you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nu kör vi!
Wow, new show indeed. I think that means new show peeps, so I'm just guessing. Good evening and welcome to this very special episode of the Icebreakers podcast. It was Musicals Week on Dancing on Ice, and tonight we've changed it up because I've got my very special co-host, Alexandra Schauman. Couldn't be more appropriately named. Welcome and thank you for joining me tonight, Alex.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm sure you're going to miss Matt a little bit, but I'm so pleased to be stepping in. I've seen lots of you do it for our lookbook episode as well, obviously the bonus episode, but I'm very thrilled to be here tonight.
Well, that's right. So we don't have Matt Evers this evening due to a scheduling conflict, but we do have a very special guest at the end of the show. So make sure you guys stick around for that. Like Alex said, you can catch up with our lookbook, which is our second episode, which we do in the week when we talk all about the looks and the hair and the makeup. But of course, before we start tonight, I should say you are looking on point, Fleeky Deaky, because you are Sandra D. Look at you.
Yes, thank you. You're looking really fantastic as well. Look at that. That didn't take just 5 seconds, did it?
No, I did my Starlight Express themed look before the show, and then I watched Dancing on Ice, and I felt like I was fully in the musicals mood because I was already dressed and ready to go. So, of course, we should dive straight in. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. It was Musicals Week, and what a week it has been. Resplendent.
Yes, I actually was really excited about this week. I know we spoke about it last week. 80s week fell a bit flat for me, unfortunately, but I thought tonight really delivered. I thought it was a thrilling show, and I have to, a little bit of a spoiler alert, but what a shocker of a skate off as well. So make sure you stay tuned for us when we get to that point in the podcast.
Yeah, I think we have a WhatsApp group going on all week between Alex, myself, and Matt, and we all had made our prediction for this week, and we were so far away, just literally, I don't even know what we were watching tonight. So, but first of all, can we talk about Michael Ball and my good friend Alfie Bowe? Alfie is a huge supporter of the Willow Foundation, which my husband and I are presidents of, so it was so lovely to see him tonight on Dancing on Ice. He is a musical theatre legend, and I don't think they could have opened the show with two greater names, could they?
No, it was an amazing opening, and I'm actually really happy that we got back to like this exciting, grand opening. You know, we haven't really seen that. Obviously, it was combined the skate off, and we saw all the competing couples come on as well. But I really enjoyed it. It was an amazing, just set the scenes. The screens were looking amazing. It was just a beautiful, stunning, exciting opening to this musical week's performance.
I agree with you. Well, we should get going because couple number one.
Yes, so skating first on, we had Molly and Colin, and they skated to Mamma Mia. And actually, I thought it was a really fun skate. And I think the judges agreed. So Ashley gave it 9, Oti 9, and Jane 9, and then Chris 8.5. But Ashley
Boo, Chris, boo.
I'm just the one to not agree. But Ashley said that he thought that she performed her socks off, and Chris really enjoyed it as well. But he thought the step sequence was a bit slow, and he didn't like the choreography flow. He thought last week had that flow, and they were back to like not really flowing with it. So what did you think?
I mean, I think that the judges have been really harsh with Molly and Colin since day one. Last week was better and they embraced them a little bit more. I think she's a firecracker of a skater. I think we have really discounted the fact that she's skating on an uneven playing field. You know, she's missing half of her left hand. She has a hole in her tummy from her stoma. And maybe because we had Adele Roberts last year, who was so body positive for the community of people who've had ileostomies or have stoma bags. Perhaps we forget how much of a huge surgery that is and how difficult it is to deal with, and it's barely been mentioned. And I think she's done an absolutely amazing job, the way that they've had to change some of the lifts and the holds so that you didn't notice that she had a stoma bag. The costumes that she's worn, you've barely even noticed, and maybe that hasn't done her any favors. Maybe we need to remind people that, hey, this lady is skating against the odds and inspiring us all. I was glad that they thought she was more attacking. I was glad that they thought she had more energy, speed, and performance, and that they noted that. But I don't know why they said she was bogged down. Did you feel I thought she was cute. She was so cute.
I thought they both were really, really cute. And they had some stuff in there as well. They had obviously she did a first lady's headbanger ever. I know she didn't take off. Usually when we do headbangers, you and me, we take off of that one foot and land on one foot as well. So it's a one edge takeoff and one edge landing. Obviously she didn't have that, but still just to have the guts to go for it, I think it says a lot. So, and I know actually that Colin's been a little bit sick this week as well, so they probably didn't have as much rehearsal time. And I really thought there was a good performance. So yeah, I thought it was a bit harsh actually. I really enjoyed it, and I thought she was smiling. I thought she was attacking it. Yeah, I don't know if I really agreed with them kind of saying it wasn't all there, because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I loved the way that the taverna looked when she came out. There was a cartwheel, there were some pull throughs. Obviously, these are tricks that we have seen before, so perhaps maybe originality could have been an issue. But that scorpion lift that she did, which is basically for those people who are listening at home and not watching, why aren't you watching? Come on, I'm going to do a little demonstration. But basically, Colin is skating forwards and he tips her upside down, and she puts her hands on his knees, and then her legs flip over the top like a scorpion, and almost her blades were almost touching her head. I thought that was a brilliant lift. We haven't seen that yet this week. I thought this was a longer routine, maybe because there's less couples in this week. They've given them a few seconds longer. So we had a bit more time to enjoy her. But that headbanger that they did, I thought was really brave. Again, I have to mention that she's got a stoma bag. So, I mean, the pressure, you and I know when we do a headbanger, the G force that hits you, the pressure on that stoma bag, she must have got a core of steel to have been able to do that.
Yeah, and actually, because she didn't land it on the one foot, she actually Colin put her down nicely, but still it's from force, and she lands sort of on her side, but also on the belly. So I was thinking of her stoma bag actually at that moment.
Absolutely, me too. So, I mean, all in all, I thought it was a really, really great opener to the show. I love Mamma Mia. Of course, it's a banging track, and of course, everybody wants to jump up and kind of get involved with that. So, I was here for it. And spoiler alert, we did lose Molly and Colin this week.
I know. I'm really, really, really gutted because I thought she was a great contender and such a fun person to have on Dancing on Ice. She was, I'm kind of sad that we're losing girls, and she was a real fighter and she was a good skater and she had the attack, she had the performance. So I'm really sad as well. I just obviously I know it's getting to that point, the crunch time when we have to lose a really good couple every week, but it's still, I really felt like they were quite hard on her and she was so sad in the end too. So my heart went out to her.
Well, moving swiftly on before it's heartbreak central over here. Let's talk about couple number two, Sam and Molly.
Yes, obviously they skated to Oliver. I'd do anything, and I think their VT was super cute, cheeky chappy here. And again, the judges they got two nines and two 9.5. So Ash and Jane gave him nines, and then 9.5 from Odie and Chris. And Ash said he was so smooth, so buttery on the ice, and I agree with this because you and Matt have mentioned his skating skills, and I think sometimes he goes unmentioned. And they thought it was. Chris thought he brought character, and he said he didn't mind the little stumble because there was one, a little small one, but he thought he hid it within the character. But yeah, I was gonna say I saw a few.
I saw at least two. Now, I don't know why, but on my Instagram just now, a load of balloons have just gone up. So, hi, whoever sent me balloons. I love that. Hello. Can they be Starlight Express like trainee balloons? And also, I do have a cat in the background, so apologies for cat's bums. But hey, this is live. So, this is what we're dealing with, people. Yeah, I saw at least two stumbles.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a really, really fun routine. I love this character for him, and we've been saying that we want them to both, are, he's an actor, so obviously he can act, but we haven't really seen him do these character pieces. Apart from, I remember back to when he did Jungle Book, So I thought it was really fun. Obviously, they're trying to add a few. I appreciated they had a few more little moves in there and tricks of the trade as well. But I don't know, but I did like it. So I don't know. Again, it's hard with the judges' scores because they're all giving the same score. What's up with that?
What is up with the judges' scores tonight? You're right. I'm going to get into this a little bit later about this scoring situation. Matt and I had a moan about it last week. Rant, rant, rant. So we're not going to do that this time. This time we're going to be kind to the judges. But I have to say, yeah, it's been very consistent, shall we say. There's been a lot of consistent scoring. I mean, I wrote down that it was the perfect characterization, and he is a great skater. And I know you're going to say he tripped. I saw him trip at least twice, and the judges only pointed out one of them. I don't know if they didn't see the other one, but he tripped while he was holding on to Sylvan doing a dozy do. They were linking arms, and he even tripped himself up then. And I think it's gotten to the point now where he's such a good skater but sometimes he gets so criticized. I don't know if he's second guessing or if he's in his head and if he's thinking, oh, if he's second guessing how great a skater he is. Sam, if you are listening, you are a great skater, dude. Like, you have it in your body. I can see it when he skates. It's effortless for him, and of course it's not effortless for any of us, but it's less effort than it is for everybody else. He doesn't have to concentrate because it just comes so naturally. His body is perfectly built for skating. His center of gravity is just perfect. I did put that it was great characterization and a great skater. There was the drag, the combo, the lifts, the cartwheel, the knee lift, the drop splits, the counterbalance. I mean, it was jam packed. However, he did trip. But I like Ash, I agree. I was like, please, sir, can we have some more?
No, I really, like you said, he is so, what I picked up on is actually his speed across the ice as well. He has such a good flow because he has a lovely knee bend, like you mentioned, everything. So they really are smooth on the ice. And I did like when they brought all the extra pros on the ice with him, I really felt like it came alive. It was more of a group effort as well. And I love seeing this. So I think bring more of that. Don't stand back from this, and really just believe in yourself, Sam, because you're an amazing skater and we want to see even more from you.
No, I agree with you. You do need to believe in yourself, Sam. But I'm going to ask you one question, and it's a yes or no answer, Alex. Oh, hello.
Was that your question?
Kittens, for dramatic effect, knocking down the picture of Matt Evers because he's not here this week to defend himself. So they've decided to give him the nudge. I think that was it. Sorry, Matt. You've been officially cancelled. Live on Instagram and live on air. I've got to reset everything. The thing is, my set's looking a little bit less than perfect anyway because this is actually my kitten nursery. So I have to take it down every week and then put it back together. And now, of course, I'm being hot. Right, I have a question for you, and it's a yes or no.
Ready.
Do you think Sam has plateaued with his skating? Yes or no? Come on now. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
I don't want to give my answer, but I think I'm going to have to say yes.
I do too. I agree. I think I've seen this now for a couple of weeks. He's such a great skater, so it's fine that he's plateaued because it's good. But we're not seeing progression, and I don't want to see him go backwards. And it's hard when you're so good to start with. And actually, when he first started back in training, back in his original VT, he was terrible. He was, he's had the Kieran Bracken kind of transformation. So he's gone from zero to hero, definitely. But I do feel like he's plateaued these last couple of weeks, and the characterization this week was what really lifted him and upped his game, and I was really pleased to see it. I thought that was great, but in terms of skating skills, maybe plateaued.
Yeah, I don't want to say that because I don't want to see them gone. I want to have them in the competition. I think he brings a great element to it, but I am worried that, like you said, I would need to see something different from him now. We're seeing all this great skating skills and everything, but we're not seeing. Actually, don't know what I'm. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm sounding like the judges here. I need to be more able to put my finger on what I need to see. So that's something we need to think about. But he has good skating skills. But we need.
I'm Xing you out for sounding like a judge. Well, like I said, please, sir, can we have some more? But let's move on to couple number 3.
Yes.
Mark and Michaela
Eminem, like we like calling them. And obviously they skated to Cabaret. And again, we had, she was, anyway, I'll do the judges first. They got, again, 9s, and 9.5. So again, similar scores there, but Otis, it was the highest score of the series for them though. And Otis said it was spectacular, that they used the rink fearlessly. And Chris thought it was much better, again, with connected up. They had more partnering skills, so it was less frantic, more musicality. And Jane just thought, because I think there was some comment about her not being, I think Ash didn't like her as focused, so Jane just thought, well, she had the helicopter in mind. So obviously we saw a high lift from them as well, which I think was a first. Was that correct?
Yeah, first for this series, definitely. We haven't seen a helicopter yet. Ashley said he thought the structure of the entire piece was like a mini musical for itself. And I kind of really focused in on that because when I was watching this piece, the music started, I've got to frantically take notes because I need to do the podcast later. But in this case, I just kind of stopped and watched it. And the whole thing I thought was so perfectly thought out, so perfectly choreographed, so beautifully performed. The punctuations were incredible. I love the fact that they had moments of calm when they stood still and they did little choreographic pieces, because this is a very strong choreographic number anyway. I mean, if you're going to do this routine, you need to really own it, and you need to have moments where you can stop and you can own it. And I felt like she did that. We saw in the VT that she had been in to the West End production, and they had given her some tips on this. I just thought she looked amazing. She looked the part. You know, Sally Bowles, eat your heart out. She was cabaret through and through. And I loved the whole thing. They had a big trick. They had some smaller tricks. They really had everything. For me, I'm surprised. I'm shocked, in fact, that they didn't get at least 1 or 2 tens. What do you think?
No, I was like, you took the words out of my mouth, because that was my point. That I don't understand why I didn't get higher scores. I feel like she's been getting the 9s and 9.5s now for a few weeks, and I feel like, what is the girl gotta do to get higher scores? Because she's delivering, and she's done so many different roles, different performances, and Mark's given her really hard choreography, and she keeps nailing it. And this performance was really outstanding. So yes, I was disappointed that they didn't have at least a few tens.
Now, I want to bring your attention to one of the pieces that they did, sort of up towards the judges. And it's hard to describe, but I'll try for you guys at home that are watching. So basically, she is on her right leg, and Mark is holding her left leg. So she's in an arabesque position like this, and Mark is holding this leg, and he pushes her, and she rotates, and he rotates around her. Now, she's doing that on one leg while he's got hold of this leg. So she has no control of which way that rotation is going to go. Obviously, Mark's a great skater. He's not going to push her off her feet. But that's what it feels like when you do that. You feel like you're going to get pushed off your feet, and then you get dragged back in. It's really difficult to explain if you're not a skater. But honestly, it would be like a ballerina standing on one toe with her leg in the air, and her partner going to push her, and her not really having any control of where that push is going to come from or where it's going to take her. They didn't really mention it. We've seen a lot of pro girls do it with their celebrity partners, because obviously we have a bit more control right down to our ankles and our feet. We're very connected to the ice. But for a celebrity partner to do that, I thought that was really difficult. And I don't particularly like that move. I find it I don't like it. It worries me when I do it. I have to really focus and concentrate. And you know I don't like to do that when I skate. So what do you think?
No, again, I think the difficulty was there, but a perfectly structured program. I think there was one week where we thought maybe the choreography was a bit too difficult, or it became too focused on that. Obviously, Mark choreographes beautifully, so this was another stunning piece. But it suited them so well. I liked the look of them, and I liked how it just, again, was another character that came to life. So I really, like you said, it was difficult, and she nailed it. And I just wanted to see higher scores for them, really, because I really enjoyed that. And especially we saw a big high lift in the end as well. I'm so glad that Jane pointed it out, because again, it's overhead lift. Yes, I know Mark's the one picking her up, and she's in good hands, safe hands, but it takes a lot of guts as well, and bearing in mind as well, that she is a bit of a more mature woman. So I'm really, really, really pleased for her that she got up there, and stunning lines, stunning positions.
Cabaret fabaret from me. I think at this point we probably should point out that there was a little bit of chitter chatter on the group chat between you, myself, and Matt about the scores, actually, the judges' scores overall. And we saw a lot of samey, or Matt and I thought they were quite samey. I think you were a little bit more eagle eyed, and you said, oh, there was a variation of 0.5. And yeah, you were doing the maths back there over in Sweden. But I think we saw, I'm going to just have a quick look back now, but I think we saw 9 from Ashley, like throughout the program. So basically, he thought everybody was on a level playing field because he scored them all the same.
Yes, you're very correct, because there was, and I'm always trying to be neutral, maybe because I'm Sweden. So I was trying to figure out that, yes, there was a 0.5 difference. Come on. But you're very right. Up until now, with the couples we've seen, Ashley has scored them all 9. So he gave 9 for Molly and Colin, 9 for Sam and Molly, and then 9 again for Michaela and Mark. And for me, I don't really know 3 different routines. I wouldn't necessarily score them like that, but obviously just my opinion. Because obviously next on, we had Dan and Vanessa, who skated to Oklahoma Cowboy style. And again, we had judges that agreed. Ashley gave a 9.5, Odie 9, and both Jane and Chris 9.5s, a total score of 37.5. And Chris said that his character was in the steps, a bit flat in his expression, but some of the best skating we've seen ever from a celebrity. And Ash again said he's just bolder every week about the skating, but he thought that this one had maybe a little bit too many elements and too much focus on that, so it took away from the style. And Odie loved it. She said a great posture, animated, but she said he needs to take a bit more time in the lifts and stuff. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't agree with Dino's comment. I feel like every time the judges make a comment, if I'm going to disagree with anybody, I always disagree with Dino. I apologize, Dino. Don't cancel me. Don't delete my number. Because I don't think it's some of the best skating we've ever seen from a celeb. I actually personally think, even in this series, Sam is a better skater. Okay, you may not like what he's doing as much, but he's a better skater. I even think Michaela, actually, most weeks is very much on a par, if not better, than Dan. So I'm surprised he said that. I mean, obviously, Dan's got this charismatic look. You can't help but be drawn in by his looks and his smile. Obviously, he had the big hair this week, which wasn't a wig, apparently, which I thought it was. He was in chaps. I mean, super sexy, of course. It was Cowboy Week, and he was Curly the Cowboy from Oklahoma. But I did feel overall that this routine was a little bit, I don't know, it was a bit beige. That's the only way I can describe it. Everything was beige. The creative was kind of beige and yellow. The costumes were sort of muted colors. I felt, compared to everybody else who was very, very thematic, I felt like this one was a little flatter. And it reminded me a little bit of last year when we saw Adele Roberts skate to Texas Hold'em by Beyonce, which in fact was another country routine. And I don't think that was her best week, and I felt like they did her a little bit dirty with that routine. She got a bit lost in the colouring, and maybe this is what happened with Dan this week.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I see your point. And obviously, maybe it's hard to do country and ice. Maybe it's something about that, the whole, those steps don't work on the ice. No, I mean, obviously, again, there was a lot of good points. I thought they had really, really cool tricks. We can't deny this. Obviously, Dan is very solid on his feet. We saw them have a massive, massive fall actually in the VT on a I call it small, but obviously it was a small element where Vanessa, he picked her up and she put her on his skates. Sorry, I'll take that again. Put her on his skates, if you're listening, and they did this little zigzag toe step, which doesn't. But again, it was just weight on top. We saw them took a massive fall in rehearsals, but that obviously went smooth. But then they had like a half twist lift as well, and then they had a throw jump, a throw double flip, which actually did not go to plan at all. It was quite
Yeah.
scary. I think it was a matter of maybe just she over rotated by a quarter at least, and her left foot, she should be landing on her right foot, but her left toe took in the ice first actually, and she had a complete stumble out of it as well. So I don't know if it was just that he was wasn't really her fault in the sense that obviously Dan's the one giving her the motion, and he's the one throwing her, so maybe he just got a bit overexcited. And this is why it's difficult sometimes, again, to have so much pressure on the celebrity doing big lifts and big tricks, because you have to trust them to do it exactly like in rehearsals. And I know you and Matt talk about this a lot. You need to rehearse like you're going to perform. You can't be adding any of that extra stuff on the night, because things not saying that's what happened now, but you can't be doing anything different. So I don't know if that's what happened, or maybe he got excited because all these pros came on, and yeah, I don't know. But for me as well, there was a little bit too many hiccups and small mistakes. It wasn't smooth at all. So I didn't really agree with the scoring here, unfortunately.
I didn't either. I thought he was overscored. I have felt that for a few weeks though, that he's been overscored. I don't feel that he's been top of the leaderboard material week on week like the judges have felt. So I don't know what it is they're seeing in the studio. Maybe they're being bowled over by his good looks, or his his posture, or his frame, as Odie spoke about. But I'm not feeling the skating in the same way that I am some of the other performers. He's a good skater, don't get me wrong, he's a good skater, but he's certainly not what they're saying he is, in my point of view. I thought that split twist that she did at the start was quite a heavy landing into that drag, and I thought actually it was a mistake, but she did do the same landing the second time around. And then when they went for the throw, like you, I thought it was over rotated. Obviously Vanessa, she could do a throw triple in her sleep, so we know it's not through lack of confidence or ability. But like you said, it may have just been that on the night he just gave too much impetus because he was too excited. And that is the thing about that we speak week on week on week about. You must practice it exactly the same as you're going to do it in the show. And I was worried when they went into the skate off. I said to David, I was like, what if he mentally isn't strong enough to carry a skate off? Because I just thought he might go overboard and get too excited. So spoiler alert, they were in the skate off. Spoiler alert, they didn't go home, thankfully, and they did a lovely routine, but we'll talk about that later. I'm not sure. I think Oklahoma possibly isn't to everybody's taste. It's from the 1940s or 50s. Maybe it's a very old musical.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's been on the West End recently, so I don't know if people are familiar with it. I'm very familiar with it, but I'm literally a musical geek, so I don't know if it's to everybody's taste, and the whole country routine. I thought they did a really good job with what they were given, but
No,
probably
I like the choreography, and usually I love they had extra pros as well that came on and joined them, and I always love seeing my friends' faces out there. But in this case, I actually didn't think it added. It looked a bit messy. I don't know if it came from the fact that the throw had gone wrong, so maybe they were off slightly timing wise as well. But when they joined in, it just looked, yeah, it just got a little bit messy for me from there on. Of course, Vanessa had both Dan and she had another boy. I think it was Andy. Now I'm getting confused with which boys she had. Then they did these walkovers together as well. So I kind of like that they implemented it and did some tricks with that. But again, sometimes it feels more like we do that in the final when you have your big group numbers and show openers with the pros. So yeah, not everybody has extra pros in their numbers. Sometimes I can feel like it's not a fair playing ground as well.
Yeah, you're right. It isn't a fair playing ground when some people have extra pros and some don't, or some people have extra, set pieces and some don't. I mean, those pool walkovers have not been seen since 1975, so that was a nice thing to bring back. I remember doing those like back in the day, so that's a nice thing to bring back. But it is difficult. I think it was Kelly Holmes and my husband David Seaman, and I think not Todd Carty. No, it was Todd.
Did Todd Carter do a walkover? That's
No,
amazing.
not on purpose. Definitely not. He did a few walkovers, but they were entirely accidental people. Todd Sands, and they did a walkover, and I think it's hard for the celebrities to do a pull walkover like that with a girl because you have to skate at the same level as the pro boy. So in this case, it was obviously it was Dan, and he was and then Vanessa was in the middle, and he had the other pro boy on the side. I think it was Andy. You're right, and then he has to keep pace with Andy. So now you're asking him to not only keep pace with his pro female skater, but also with another pro male who is 10 times stronger. So yeah, well done to them for doing that. But yeah, possibly not their night tonight, and possibly that's why they ended up in the skate off. Shock horror.
Yeah, shock horror. But
I think
obviously,
I
yeah,
think
go
it's hard when you're top of the leaderboard consistently. And like I said, I think that's probably been their downfall because they have been so consistently at the top. So you think you're riding high and you can do no wrong, and then to suddenly be in a skate off can be such a shock to your system. And I think you can be a victim of your own success if you don't keep an eye on that and remind yourself that every week could be the last time that you skate, because you never know what's going to go wrong on the night. It's a bit like Bake Off, and they do the Bake Off and you think, oh, this person's an amazing baker, and they go to bread week and it's like suddenly they're making flat pancakes. This is what I felt like happened with Dan and Vanessa tonight. It was a bit of a flat pancake. It
Well, I
wasn't
wouldn't call it exactly a
it was more like a knee.
You don't see, I like pancakes, so I might disagree with you there slightly. But yeah, I don't think for me it wasn't their best performance. But I think it could be a good thing as well. Now they've experienced that skate off, the dreaded skate off, and we are going into semifinals next week. So, it's going to be 50%, half of the contestants next week will be in the skate off. So I think it's in some ways it's something good to have under your belt. They've gone through that now. Obviously, it was amazing that they did do the throw again and it was successful in the skate off. Spoiler alert, we'll get into in detail. So I think it could have been something that actually made them stronger as well. And if anything, the fans out there of Dan and Vanessa, they know they need to pick up the phones and vote for them as well. Nobody's safe at this point of the competition.
That's true. Now, a quick shout out to Amber Davis singing live, all that jazz. Hello, Amber
Yes.
Davis. Cameo from heaven. She just popped up, sang it live, and then popped up. Incredible. I love when people sing live on the ice. I think we had it last year with Claire Sweeney, this in her singing Clam. It was incredible as well. But this was a really nice performance. I personally really loved it. So I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, no, it was a really really sexy and sultry performance, and I did enjoy her so much on the show last year as well. So it was really nice to see her back. And I was quite shocked that she said she hadn't skated at all since last year, because it didn't look like that, because she was very good out there and really attacking, some very flexible. Very jealous of her bendy back, but it was a really fun competition, little added bonus thing there.
Yeah, hi, more power to you, Amber. Now, Antoinette.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
sorry, but if you didn't cry during this performance and get all the tingles and all the feels and all the goosebumps, check your pulse? Are you even still alive? Antoinette. Okay, on paper, Les Mis, bring him home. that is a power piece. I mean, a power ballad, and you need to bring your A game. I'm sorry, you can get away with it when it's a fun and funky number because the music can carry you through. But Bring Him Home by Les Mis, and we had Alfie Boe and Michael Ball in the studio. We've got his sisters in the studio who are musical theatre twins. It was so lovely to see them. I mean, honestly, go.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I actually saw this, when they released what they were skating to, like the musical list, I wasn't quite sure as well. I was like, "Oh, this could go kind of either way," even though I love the piece and I love Les Mis. But again, just blown away. They had a beautiful, massive, big set piece, just the way they started, and yes, I don't know. I couldn't fault it. I just sat and really I loved it for Anton and Annette. So Antoinette, they really brought something so different and it was magical and it had the big lifts, but they weren't prepped. They just seemed to just seamlessly happen. And I was so proud because we saw this different Anton with great posture and he was extending and doing his down to the fingertips of things. And of course, judges agreed, and the studio went gold because they had 4 10s. Woo! That is just amazing, isn't it?
10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, because it was a 10 from me and a 10 from you and a 10 from Matt. So they actually had 7 10s, people. um,
Yes,
it was
yes.
incredible. It was incredible. Why don't you tell us what the judges thought? Because obviously, everybody was bowled over. So just let us know how much the judges loved it.
Yeah, well, Oti said that she had to hold back her tears. She was almost crying. She was so proud. She loved the extensions, and she just thought it was completely finished. She wanted to give them a standing ovation, and she did. And Jane said that she was taken away by the storytelling. And Chris that was just mesmerized. He had emotional goosebumps. And Ash said that that's how you do musical week. Came out, presented so well. He was just really inspired by him. So I think
I
yes, I
think
agree with the judges
I
here.
think we're all
Finally.
inspired. I think we were inspired. They set it up really well with the VT. Now, people at home, you have to understand that these VTs can make or break you as well. This is a really important way to set the tone of the piece, of what we're going to achieve here. And with this piece, with Les Mis, it has to be emotional. It has to be tugging at your heartstrings. There has to be that real depth to it. And I think we started off, we saw Remy and Anya. These are obviously Anton's sisters who are twins, who are also in musical theatre, and they came along to help him out. Now, can I just say, these guys all came from Peckham, and they've got Rio, they've got Anton, Premier League footballers, they've got Remy and Anya. This is a very talented family. They're the royalty in Peckham, so big it up. But the minute he saw his sisters, he started crying. Well,
Yeah.
we all started crying then, didn't we? Of course. They were teaching him to take his time and to breathe. They were teaching him where his arms should be, like you said, to the ends of his fingertips. He took it all on board and he was hugging them and he was so grateful for their help. I even saw them in the studio audience as well. They were sort of in the background there watching him. It must have been a very proud moment for the Ferdinand family tonight. And I think we were all very proud of Anton and Antoinette. Now let's talk about these lifts. What do you think to these lifts, Alex?
Well, I was gonna say I was really again blown away because they had some difficult tricks in there, but again, it didn't take away from the overall performance. We didn't see this massive prep or massive pause before, and actually, I think it was Jane who said it. I wasn't nervous when they did these big lifts, but again, we shouldn't take away from that because they were difficult and things could have gone wrong. So again, Anton very solid on his feet, and I feel like he's gone from strong to stronger. So they had an overhead lift. We actually picked up Annette by the neck. Don't know, what do you call this lift? I believe for people who are
I
not.
think we call it a side drape, but the
Yeah,
thing that I want to point out about this side drape is a normal drape for you guys that are listening at home. The guy and the girl are side by side, so you're traveling in the same direction, you're traveling at the same speed. Now, of course, the minute she leaves the ice, her speed then is taken. It essentially stopped almost, and the boy has to then carry that weight and carry her along. So that's where the difficulty comes in. People think, oh, they're both traveling at the same speed the whole time, but at the minute she leaves the ice, of course, then her momentum stops. So he has to almost be counterproductive to that and make sure that the speed continues. Otherwise, she'll get behind him and his arm will get behind him, and then they'll both fall over backwards. So he has to make sure that he's ready for that, to keep that momentum going forwards once he takes the weight on top of himself. But this is entirely different because it was a side drape. So he lifted her from the side and then he twisted it in front of him. This is really, really, I mean, top level skating skills. It is very difficult. And the way that he did it, you almost missed it because it was so smooth like butter. The timing was impeccable. And I have to say, congratulations to Annette for teaching that the way that she did, because he's grabbing her on the back of the neck. This is a difficult hold. It's very high up the body. We normally see a drape. The hold would be at the base of the back, so it's much lower down. And then your arms and leg, the boy's arms are much closer together. But in this, he had a really wide stand or really wide grip, and that gives you a lot less upper body strength. So the way that this lift was done and the way that it went up like butter and the way that he continued his motion, he didn't even wobble, he didn't even breathe. It was absolutely stunning. So 10, yeah, a 10 for me for that lift alone.
A 10. And I have to mention as well, he brought her down so gently as well, because she did a little bit, you can do different leg positions, and she had her legs kind of crossed a little bit, which perfectly, he like just folded her into her arms, and it became a beautiful continuation as well. So I just, again, applause, applause, applause. That's what I do. 10s for that. And they also had a difficult that drop stag on the legs down as well. So a low lift that went, again, a counter balance lift where Annette went down really low on his boots as well. And that one can be quite tricky as well, just to balance out and to bring up the girl safely. So I think they had a lot of difficult things put in, and all the other transitions and stuff too, but just made it look seamless. And they must have really worked hard this week, because it was a completely different piece from last week's.
Yeah,
Fast.
and if you're at home wondering like where does Anton and Antoinette's routine compare, like how is it? Because sometimes it is difficult to get past the fact that he's not the most polished skater. This week's routine was exceptional. It was beautiful. It was a heartwarming. It was emotional. It was deep. But he's not the most polished skater. The fact that he had better arms this week, the fact that he had better lines, 10 out of 10, absolutely, much improved. But you can still see he's a little bit rough. He's a little bit of a diamond in the rough. He's a little bit unpolished. I don't mind that. I'm just pointing it out, and I know that you guys at home already know that because you know skating. But the fact, if you want to compare him and ask where he is really in the grand scheme of things, at the end of their routine, they did this flyaway spin where he's holding Annette by both her arms, and he has his arms at full length, her arms at full length. So this is a lot of weight out in front of him, and he managed to rotate smooth like butter. And that particular flyaway spin was what the pros did at the top of the show. So there were 3 pro couples that did exactly the same spin. So if you want to talk about where is he in terms of his technique, well, he's up there. You know, he's not a pro skater obviously, but he's up there doing the same tricks as the pros did in the opening routine.
Yeah. And that says a lot. It was a 10. That's all we can say.
Well,
10.
so, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but we were on our WhatsApp chat, and the minute that routine ended, I was like, beat that, Beyonce, beat that witches. I sort of said
Yeah.
beat that witches. Not exactly witches, but something like that. I said beat that witches, because honestly, I knew straight away, even before they gave the scores, that this was going to be massive.
Yes, and I think obviously maybe that's something as well. He's really, what I admire about Anton is his working ethic. He's really working hard. He's very when he speaks, whenever he's asked a question, speaks in front of the judges as well. Very humble. He just comes across really, really nice, and I like that he's taken everything on board, and that's what the judges said too. That every week he takes on board what they say and goes away and works on it. You know, no drama. And I think this week really proved that he's taken that all on board, and he was fighting. He didn't want to be in that skate off again. 2 weeks in a row he has been. So even though it was a bit of a shocker, the skate off, and we'll move on to it very shortly, but I was very pleased not to see Antoinette there this week.
I 100% couldn't agree more with you. So I'm not crying, you're all crying. Honestly, that's how I felt at the end of that routine. So I think sadly we have come to the skate off. We obviously had a really lovely Moulin Rouge routine. Satine came down from the ceiling. She was a vision. Moulin Rouge obviously is lovely. What did you guys think the whole Moulin Rouge thing? The costumes were very risque, weren't they?
Yes, very. I kind of liked, there was a part of it, they were dancing. I liked seeing this. It was a big production number. And like I said, I've missed this on the show. There hasn't really been that for quite a few weeks now. So I loved seeing that whole, we had pros on the ice. We had Satine coming down from the ceiling. And then we had lots of dancers on stage as well. And yes, the costumes were very revealing, and they had some items pop off as well. I loved the stocking. Did you see that? We need to discuss this more on the lookbook. Obviously, our bonus episode that we'll do later this week. But those stockings stockings, I would love to have a pair of those come with me accidentally home.
Well, now you say that, but you and I, didn't we once skate in a pair of very similar stockings?
Yes, actually, I think, and we have discussed this before because we were quite shocked when we were handed our costumes then. But that was because it was so many years ago. So maybe we're just, the show now, the world now is a different place than it was back then. But yeah, that was actually quite. We didn't skate. It was an Alexandra Burke routine, but it kind of reminded me of Moulin Rouge. I missed seeing a bit of red in this. It was very black and white and silver, very sparkly. Obviously, she was stunning with all the Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, and it was kind of a mesh as well. It started from this song and it went into Beyonce's, and but I still loved seeing a big performance number like this, a big old mesh. Did you
Yeah,
like it?
I went last year. I was treated to tickets to Moulin Rouge. My girlfriend took me to see Moulin Rouge last year for my birthday. Oh no, wait, hang on. No, I treated her. What am I talking about? No, I am the hero of this piece. She's the villain. No, I treated her to tickets to Moulin Rouge. That's right. She's taken me to see Starlight Express for my birthday in a couple of weeks. But yeah, so I treated her to Moulin Rouge tickets. We saw the show. It was beautiful. It's visually, if you haven't seen it, it's visually very beautiful. You're right though. It's a lot more red in actual Moulin Rouge than there was tonight. But I think it was the Satine tonight that I saw in the show last year. So I was like, oh, I've seen it. I know this one. I know this one. Should we talk about the skate off? Should we dive
Yeah,
into
I
that?
think we need to get to the skate off because obviously this week actually I think I texted you. My palms were sweaty. I remembered when they all skated on for the lineup. I was like, I don't want to be here because it's one of those at this point of the competition, you don't know. And I hope that at this point, they all need to be prepared as well. You can't think that you're safe. Nobody's safe. But obviously when they called out that Antoinette was safe, I was so happy. But yeah, the two that ended up in the skate off was of course Molly and Colin, and then quite shockingly Dan and Vanessa as well. And obviously, spoiler alert, Molly went home. But I thought they both Molly and Colin couldn't have done better. They skated so well in that skate off as well. They both couples did actually. So in this way, I thought it was quite a hard call. I'm not envious of being the judge here. I wouldn't have liked to make that call.
Do you think you had sweaty palms because you and I have been in many skate offs and we had you have like a visceral response to it? Honestly, it's quite traumatizing. And no, like obviously we're not saving lives. This is not open heart surgery. I understand it's just a silly skating show on a Sunday night. Of course, it's just pure entertainment. But as competitive skaters, we've all been in that situation where you're fighting for survival. And you and I have been on the show so many times and been in so many skate offs. You know how that feels. And when you're standing there and they're calling people's names and it's not yours, and you can see people kind of like leaving because you're like, oh, they're safe, hang on, how many are left? And you look around and you're like, oh, yeah, just the three of us, who's it going to be? It does, your heart does sink and you're like, oh no, we have to do it again, what's going to happen? You can't control this. It's completely out of your control. And as skaters, we're kind of control freaks because we practice everything until it's perfect, or as perfect as it can be, but you just never know on the night in that second, when you get that second go at it, if it's going to go as well as you'd hoped. And if it doesn't, just one mistake and you can be out of there. And equally, the person that you're skating against, if they have one mistake, it can be the end of their skating career too. Do you think that's why you had sweaty palms?
I think so. And I think it was also because they obviously had to redo. We had one routine, Molly and Colin skated clean on the night, and then we had the mistake from Dan and Vanessa, and they had to redo the throw, which they did do very well. But before that, Vanessa, after the she went through a trick where she goes through Dan's legs, actually went down her knees, and her costume kind of came apart and she got stuck. So it was this whole moment of a little bit of yeah. So I think my palms got even more sweaty.
Oh, hang on. Did you hear some? Did you?
Yeah, I was gonna say I heard.
Was that a knock at the door? What? Hello.
I'm not sure.
That was a knock at the door. Who could it be? It's time to introduce our special guest. Hello. Welcome to the studio.
Soon you'll see. You remember you belong to me. You'll be back. Time will tell. You remember that I served you well.
Oh my God. It is the Queen Matt Evers. Okay, you guys on Instagram, Matt Evers has joined the studio and he is dressed full on as the king. I'm assuming you're taking this from the musical Six.
Oh gosh, no, from Hamilton.
Hamilton is in the room. Welcome, Matt Evers, to the Icebreakers Pocket, back where you belong.
First and foremost, Alex, thank you so much for holding down the fort. Yes, I was on another project this evening, and I've literally just made it back in time to join you guys. And because it was musicals week, Frankie had messaged me and she was like, "You've got to wear a costume. You have to come in costume." And I'm like, "What am I going to do?" So needless to say, I bought the cheapest king costume I could find for King George III, yes, from Hamilton. So ladies, my subjects, you look beautiful this evening.
Oh, well, thank you, Matt. It was lovely to see you. You look very good as king.
I feel like I'm worth about $6.
I think that's been a little bit over ambitious for $6.
And I thought it was quite appropriate too for what's happening in America, since a certain orange orangutan has declared himself a king with this past week. So there we go.
Oh my goodness.
There we go.
Well, literally loving your work. I mean, you are the only American that could come dressed as a king. I feel like that's almost heresy, isn't it? Like, didn't you guys fight for independence from all of that? And then here you are.
Exactly. With my mushroom cap on.
You just look a bit like a mushroom, not gonna lie. You
probably
look amazing.
Quit lying.
It's like a mushroom cap, and then it's a bit of Dalmatian as well. Which actually, I love it. You can do several musicals in one. It's like it's the costume that keeps on giving.
You're
so
welcome.
Obviously, Six, King, Hamilton, Dalmatian.
You're welcome.
That's a musical, right?
It is, yeah. The 101 Dalmatians was a musical.
101 Dalmatian, that's what it is.
But I do expect a full lookbook breakdown on my beautiful wardrobe this evening.
I feel like that's another entire episode of its own. We could just do the Matt Evers lookbook, and we can just dissect that look all night long.
Oh dear God, please don't.
Matt, I'm glad you've joined us, because I know that you watched the show tonight. As you were on your travels, you were managing to catch up with the show as well. Why don't you talk us through the skate off and your opinion overall about the show?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to say, last week the show left us all a little bit flat. And it's like, come on, like we're leading up to the semifinals here. And I was really hoping that tonight's show was going to blow it out of the park. And I have to say, from previous musicals week, tonight really stood out. I think production did a great job. I thought the couples did fantastic jobs with what they were given. And I think for the first time this series, we saw a standout performance, which was Anton. I had, like, my palms were sweaty. When he scored tens across the board, I screamed. I mean, and to echo what Odie had said, we all felt so proud of him for what he accomplished this week, because he has been the dark horse. He has been the one that's been slowly climbing up the board. But we also have to give him credit because he's not a performer. He comes from the football pitch. And to see him out there doing smooth movements and really taking time for all of the skating it was beautiful to see. It was, I think, probably going to be the best performance of the series.
Yeah, here. And actually for once, well, of course, Antoinette were not in the skate off. So it was a bit of a shock to all of us when we saw Dan and Vanessa and Molly and Colin.
Yeah. It really was. I think I was shocked to see Dan in the skate off, especially because ITV was running ads on The Only Way is Essex, like every other ad break. And I was like, this kid's getting fantastic promotion. But again, what you find sometimes is the favorite, especially leading up to the semifinal, gets forgotten about in the voting system, because people at home feel that person is going to be safe. Everybody else is going to vote for them. And so they want to then vote for the underdog, or maybe somebody that touched them that week. And keep in mind too, we have mentioned this before on the podcast, is if you vote twice for one person and twice for somebody else, it cancels your vote out for that person, right? So you always want to make sure that you vote at least 3 or 4 times for your favorite. And especially don't forget about the favorites of the show. If you like Dan because you followed him for his entire journey and then you don't vote for him because you think he's going to be safe, nobody is safe, especially when there's only basically, well, now we're into 4 couples for the semifinals. So it's very, very important to vote for who you want to get through to that final.
Yeah, and Alex and I just said, next week it's 50-50. It's 50-50. You're either in the skate off or you're not, 50-50. And that's literally the brutal, honest truth. You could skate your socks off and still be in the skate off, 50-50.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm not going to say 50-50 anymore because when I see myself on screen saying 50-50, my little lips do something really weird. 50-50, 50-50. It's like I'm glitching. 50-50, 50-50, 50-50.
Well, you are a mechanical train, aren't you?
I broke down.
Well, I got chills from this episode. I thought it was I also loved it, man. I was so excited that Musical Week really delivered. Like we said, it fell a bit flat for me for the past few weeks, but I was so excited this week. Obviously very sad to see Molly and Colin go, but at this point we're just going to have to lose somebody. It's the name of the game.
100%. Yeah. And next week is semifinals, I think, again, hopefully. Oh, so they did tease, and I cannot tell you how many comments I've been getting throughout the week about where are all the judges' challenges, because they've not done any so far this series, but they did tease the fact that the judges' challenge is coming back next week. And I think I heard them say a solo skate as well. So we may have 2 performances next week from all 4 couples.
Oh, the dreaded solo skate. Now, if you guys have been a fan of Dancing on Ice for a long time, if you've been watching it since 1975 when Matt and I won it, the solo skate can be a really traumatic experience for the celebs because once you're out there by yourself, it's a very lonely place to be. So I'm very excited for next week. It's double jeopardy. It's 50-50, 50-50. So tune in, folks.
Tune in and make sure you guys do like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell, do what you need to do so you get the notifications. It helps drive the podcast up the charts. And it was great to see you, ladies. Alex, thank you so much for stepping in for me. You were the perfect substitute.
Well, Sandy D says thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I love this look, Matt. Honestly, you made my night. So we'll have lots to discuss, Frankie, on the lookbook. So make sure you don't miss that as well. But yeah, thank you guys.
Bye, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you next week. Mwah.
You're welcome.